All right, a number of nations backing away from the government overreach as it pertains to the coronavirus. In fact, Denmark Prime Minister announcing yesterday that Denmark is throwing out most of the COVID-19 pandemic restrictions that it has put in place. Even Finland is going to begin easing its restrictions in mid-February. That means the mask mandates are gone, some of the vaccine mandates. And we've been talking about this before, Britain doing the same thing, but the United States, it looks like we're doubling down. The administration continues to fight for its mandates, but now there's a suggestion or evidence to suggest that the federal government is considering the creation of a database to keep information on every federal employee, volunteer, intern, contractor, or consultant who requests a religious exemption from the government's vaccine mandate. This be a bad idea or a really bad idea? Joining us now to discuss this is someone well equipped to answer this question, Catholic University professor of law and former commissioner on the United States Commission on Civil Rights, Bob Destro. Bob, welcome back to the program.
Well, thanks, Tony, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So what do we know about this and the government's creation of this registry to track and or at least keep on file everyone who's requested a religious exemption to their mandate?
Well, we don't know much about it. It appeared in the what we call the Federal Register, which is the official announcement of proposed rulemaking for the federal government. And so all we know is that they're going to do this. We have no idea where they get the authority. We have no idea where they get the data. We have no idea what they're going to use it for. And so to answer your question in the intro, is it a bad idea or a really bad idea? I would say it's a horrific idea.
I mean, what would they do with this? Track people to see if they go to church, to see if their religious exemption is legitimate? Is it a form of intimidation? I mean, we've long protected our privacy in this country, and seems like, especially in this pandemic, we've accelerated the overreach of the government.
Well, I think we've accelerated the overreach of the government for a long time. I mean, if we go back to 9/11, we pretty much acquiesced in saying that they have a right to pat us down at the airport. You know, yeah. A lot of people would argue about that, but it's worth looking at. With respect to this question, are they, what are they using? Why do they need the information other than to create a list of people who oppose their mandate?
Right. And to go back to your example of 9/11, I was a vocal opponent of the Patriot Act, and have remained so, even when it was all embraced by Republicans. Because there's coming a day when you're not going to have a George W. Bush in the White House and a fairly conservative administration. You're going to have one that's going to use this against us, and voila, what did we find? That's exactly what they did against President Trump as a candidate. They used the Patriot Act and the authority given to them. You always have to look at this. I'm not a pessimist. I'm a realist. You have to look at all of these policies in how in the worst way that they can be used.
Well, there's no question, and the idea that there is actually a right to privacy anymore, and that's going to be the big human rights issue to come. I mean, why are they collecting all this data? Who is collecting the data? What are they collecting it about? And it's not just the government that's collecting it. Google and Facebook. I mean, basically they know more about you than you know about yourself. And the use of that data that's just one of many questions. But why the DC government is doing it completely eludes me. And everybody needs to complain about it, write in and make comments about it. And then as soon as it goes into effect, they need to be sued.
So let me ask you this question, Bob, because a lot of these government databases, like IRS is supposed to, that's private information, although it's been hacked into or it's been released for political purposes. But a lot of the information that the government collects is open to researchers and others. I mean, what do we know about the protections that we would have over this information that they collect?
We don't know much about it at all. And it's getting worse. I mean, Maxine Waters has asked for the credit scoring agencies to be taken over by the federal government, which would give everybody access, which would give the government access to all of our credit information. The IRS wants a report of every transaction of over $600. I mean, basically, what we're doing is we're collecting all these databases, and then we can use it. We can match it with some kind of whether it's a vaccine passport or even a microchip, like they're going to try and use in Switzerland and Sweden to track us constantly. That's what the Chinese do.
I was fixing to say this sounds very much like communist China.
Well, actually, communist China got the idea from us. And most of the Communist Party face recognition software came from the United States. Companies like Honeywell and other American companies basically helped the Chinese put it together.
Interesting you mentioned that. That's my next topic in the next segment, talking about how the mega tech firms that are silencing conservatives here in this country have been getting rich off the Chinese by helping them in their artificial intelligence efforts.
Yeah, and more to the point that you made before, the Chinese have just announced that anybody who criticizes China during the Olympics is in trouble. Guess what? We have that same problem here, and what we have now is American capitalism with Chinese characteristics.
Well, I don't think I can get in any more trouble with China. I've already been sanctioned by China, so I don't know what's next. Bob Destro. Always great to talk with you. Thanks so much. We're going to keep an eye on this, and I'm also going to track it down, make sure we can put this out for people to comment on this rulemaking process.
Very good. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.